Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul. In this video, we're breaking down the Black Mirror episode Loch Henry, a true crime thriller. This actually got name dropped when Joan was flicking through Streamberry.
Loch Henry, the Scottish murder thing?
Can't really do another true crime.
The service also pops up later on, and the entry comes with a big twist at the end that really elevates the episode. Joan is awful really came with a theme that Netflix was morally bankrupt, and there's a lot to talk about in this one too. Throughout this video, we're going to be going through it all, discussing all the Easter eggs and the true meaning behind that ending. Heavy spoilers ahead, so if you haven't had a chance to check it out, then check out now. We'll also be doing breakdowns on all the episodes in the show, so make sure you subscribe to never miss a beat. Out the way, huge thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into Loch Henry. Now, as with our last breakdown, I want to go over the Black Mirror Easter eggs and callbacks first before we get into the plot itself. There's several nods to the entry, and at one point we see Michael Smart unveiling a robot dog device that comes from that episode. This is for the Met Police, and this confirms that they were used by the authorities initially. Michael Smart's name appears on a newspaper clipping as well, which mentions Tipley. Both of these appeared in Demon 79, and at the barbers we hear about the documentary Suffer the Children, centered around Tipley. There's also an article on a newspaper unveiling one of the metalhead dogs, which says that it was unleashed on London. This might be a reach, yeah, but that could be a nod to American Werewolf in London, which also gets its own nod coming later on. Either way, the newspaper's clearly talking about the Mark I dog, which explains why it looks slightly different to the ones seen in the episode. We also get an Easter egg that ties in directly with the episode playtest, as there's mention of a US tourist being found dead at Sato Gemu HQ. Several of the shows shown in Joan of Awful are carried across as well, including the San Junipero documentary and the one about Michael Callow. The Callow years appears as a poster too, and the San Junipero one's entitled Euthanasia inside Project Junipero. This is a nod to Kelly choosing to end her own life at the end of the entry and be uploaded to live forever in the server. Now, a headline on the Scottish Daily Mail reads, "Whatever happened to Michael Callow, now he runs a zoo." This is a nice little carryover from him having sex with a pig on TV, and the guy's gone on to get knee-deep in animals. Now, we also learn about the Waldo movement, which is ramped up to political victory in Italy. Waldo appears as a sticker on the back of Davis's laptop, and there's also one from Tuckersoft from Black Mirror Bandersnatch. Colin Rittman was a character in that, with him also getting his own Streamberry show in episode 1. We find out from the newspaper that he's gone missing, and I hope you stay safe, Colin. Make sure you make the right choices. Now, his laptop back is where they do a lot of the Easter eggs, with us getting the symbol from White Bear on it, and also the eye from the episode Archangel. Anyway, we begin with Pia and her boyfriend Davis travelling out to his mother Janet's to work on an independent film. This is about someone that stops people stealing eggs that will probably not be viewed by anyone, and spoilers for it, he travels into the multiverse, which is where he meets Egghead from Batman 66. Anyway, things seem dull and desolate, but Pia's ears prick up when we discover that there was a string of brutal murders that happened in the area, seemingly all carried out by a man named Ian Adar. People have stayed away from the area due to the painful memories. Realizing that they can turn this into a true crime documentary, they're tempted by the profit and fame that they can get off the back of it. Now, much like the first entry in the season, this episode feels like it's commenting on a lot of things that Netflix seems to do. In case you missed that video, we touched upon how things like Making a Murderer and so on were big successes for the streamers that made people millionaires. However, those in front of the camera completely had their lives wrecked, and the documentaries likely unearthed things that those involved didn't really want people to know. Now, we discover that Davis's mother and father were involved in the murders too, and I got a lot of Fred and Rose West vibes coming from this episode. In case you don't know, this was a killer couple that murdered several people, and they got away with it for years and years and years. Both were involved with sordid stuff, and Rose's sexual exploits were splashed all over the front page. If you're not from England, then you probably haven't heard of them, but their crimes have been documented in several shows and documentaries. That's where my mind went with this, and we know that the pair also had several children as well. Fred killed one of these, but the other two of course would have found themselves in a similar situation to Davis. One of the children grew up to commit several abusive crimes himself, and it's a pretty messed up story once you read through the entire thing. Now, because of this though, several show producers have flocked to the story to try and turn the tragedy into a commodity. Davis is given the fame and riches he was initially seeking, but the story's kind of taken away from him come the end of the entry. It's now in the public domain, and thus producers can constantly keep making documentaries, shows, and movies about it. He's metaphorically shoved out of it come the end of the episode, with him having to stare at a producer's back as she talks about plans for the future. This is to the person who could potentially play Pierre, who dies towards the end after discovering the truth. This shows that the story is no longer under his control, and it's now in the hands of those who are solely after money. Now, though he gets a BAFTA, he isn't happy, and it's kind of like a wish coming true for him with all the downsides of it.
Someday this guy will be polishing BAFTAs and forgetting about us poor wee shites he used to cut about with.
But the BAFTA itself is a mask, and now David must put on a happy face and pretend to be enthusiastic. This ends up also bringing back business to the local pub, but you have to ask yourself what it really cost. Now, what the episode does brilliantly is that it shows both sides of the argument when it comes to making this stuff. The characters, of course, feel like it's important to tell the story, but they also wrestle with the backlash that comes with it. Pierre sells it that Davis and his mum can finally tell his story, but there's definitely this idea that Pierre's using the victims for her own personal gain. People will often argue that you shouldn't be bringing up the dead like this and using them as a way to get fame and fortune, especially as people went through some of the most horrendous things imaginable. All the bad things in this episode happen from the characters being unable to help themselves from digging up the past in their never-ending quest to make the true crime documentary. They even put words in Stu's mouth, and they make sure he says certain things so the documentary's juicier. There's a scene in which they're singing in the car joking about the murders, and this causes Davis to crash the car when he joins in. Could have been fatal, and them clearly laughing and joking has an almost car-make response that causes them to almost lose their lives. I think thematically that it works really well, and you can say this episode's basically curiosity killed the cat. Now, being a YouTuber, I've run into controversy myself if I've covered a certain movie with either, let's say, a problematic actor or a problematic director. Some people just flat out tell me they're unsubscribing because I shouldn't be covering it, and though it's not the same as a murder, sensitive subjects will plain put some people off. And that's me not getting angry at them either. Everyone has their own principles and what they think's okay to talk about. And I did appreciate that this episode tackled how those involved and not involved see things. John Hannah is really the actor whose character brings the conflict, and we discover that he also suspected the truth of the murders as well. Turns out that he spent a night with Jenna and Kenneth, and realizing that they got carried away with the sex games made him start to suspect. That might be a reach, but I kind of view this as the silent onlooker in a lot of situations when people get exposed. People often have their suspicions, or they feel the other people are too powerful to take down single-handedly, and thus it takes a lot of people to do it. Now, according to the story, Davis's dad Kenneth was shot in the shoulder, and in the hospital he got MRSA. This killed him over time, and thus Janet blames Ian, which we'll get into. Now, she still has a fond collection of the crimes, including the mask that she used to wear when carrying out the murders. There's also tapes and tapes of Bergerac, a show that they taped over when filming the crimes. In the end, though, when she's caught, it seems Janet actually wants people to know, and it's said that serial killers often desire being caught so that their work can be seen by the world. If no one knows about it, then it's robbing them of the notoriety, and this is why Janet leaves the tapes to her son after taking her life. She makes a joke when Davis says that his dad's camera wasn't filming for broadcast, and you can say, imagine, because she knows what the world would think if they actually saw the tapes. Also, I guess it's kind of sweet that she leaves the tapes for her son and writes a little note as she wants his film to do well. And it's like, go on, son, I hope everything works out with it, which is has a bit of a dark sense of humour to it. She's just a nice mum, I guess, or maybe a complete psychopath. Now, after the crash, Pia goes to the house on her own, and this is where she ends up discovering the truth. In what's potentially a reference to Myra Hindley and Ian Brady, she has to act normal after realising the truth. The pair were a killer couple as well, and a friend walked in on them carrying out a murder, which is when he had to act like it was normal due to being fearful for his own life. He went along with it, then contacted the police, which led to their arrest, though Myra wasn't initially brought in. She was complicit, just like Janet, and when I heard the name Ian Adar, I did start to think whether that was playing on Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. Might be a reach that though, but just something I've discussed with the team when we've been watching this episode. Now, upon being discovered, Janet goes after Pia, but she flees into the night and evades capture. However, she slips and bangs her head on a rock, and the character is killed at this point. Now, Janet then returns home and she puts on the mask, showing that this is the true face that she wanted to be remembered for. The mask, of course, echoes the BAFTA one, and now Davis must present another way to the world, just like his mother. They both made videos that ruined several people's lives, and again, it's sort of like poetry they rhyme. And that tops off what's another brilliant entry, and these first two episodes in the show do such a good job of changing things at the last minute. Watching the actual documentary at the end really took things up a level, and this was a great analysis of what goes into these sort of things. It's all for fame, profit, and acclaim, and it may even leave those involved wondering if they've sold their soul. Anyway, that closes out the episode, and obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on the entry in the comments section below. Huge shoutouts to our partners over at thestreamer.com who've done reviews on the entire season, and definitely go check them out if you want to see more of our guys' thoughts on the show. If you want to support the channel for as little as 99 cents a month, then please click the join button below, and as a thank you, you'll get early access to videos every week. We also have our merch store over at zeroedition.com, which sells lots of nerdy inspired t-shirts, hats, and more. We've just launched a Secret Invasion / Pulp Fiction inspired t-shirt, so if you want to head over there and help us out, then the link's in the description. Now, if you want something else to watch, make sure you check out our Jonah's Awful Breakdown, which will be linked on screen right now. Out of the way, a huge thank you for sitting through the video. I've been your host Paul, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.